Hmm? Okay, thank you. So again, my name is Luiza Lipień, and as the topic for this year Agile Swarming conference is how to destroy an agile hand, how not to do that, I would like you to take you through 7 steps of how to destroy every agile transformation. Okay? Before I will take you through those, let me introduce myself a little bit more. So first, it is my second time on Agile Swarming, so I wanted to say a big thank you for the organizers and for having me here. The second thing is that I had been living in Krakow for almost 3 years, so it's a great pleasure to be again here, because I was living in Krakow. I was working here with some of my friends, who I may see here in the room, and I'm really grateful to be here again. What else about me? From my private side, I'm a wife and a mom of a teenager. My son Oleg is 14 now. I'm a great lover of traveling, and the picture that you see was taken in Verona. I'm a great lover of Italy, and I really recommend, if you did not have a chance yet, to visit Verona. And also, I'm a dog person, and I have 2 daughters, Brownie and Gracie, and you may also see them both in the picture, and I think you will figure out on your own which one is which. And from my professional career, I added some logotypes of the companies that I work for, and it is not because I wanted to impress you, or maybe a little bit, but it is more because I wanted to underline 3 things. First is that I work in different companies in terms of their sizes. So they were as small as startups founded like with and at the end hiring around 400 people, but also bigger one like hiring 100,000 people. The second thing from the logotypes is that there are different industries. So there's a software house, there's a bank, fintech, e-commerce, and pharmacy. So again, different perspectives. And the third thing is around culture, because all those companies are also different in terms of culture. There are Polish, British, and French companies. So it also makes some difference, let's say. Yes, that's about me. And now about the presentation itself. So what I want to do with you is I would like to take you through those 7 steps. Those 7 steps were described by me based on my own experience from the company I worked for, and again, from different industries and so on. So this is, of course, my perspective and my observations, and I choose to have those 7 here. As I have only 20 minutes, I will take you briefly through every of them, and then I would like to share with you some experience I had with solving the issue. Okay, so there will be 1, 2 techniques that I would like to share with you, and which worked for me in that specific case. And also with us, we will have some friends on the journey. So there are 7 characters that you may see on the slide below, and they will accompany our journey today. Okay, so let's start with the first step. How to destroy every agile transformation is to work with no vision. Okay, and what we have here, from my observations, many companies, they hire agile coaches, Scrum Masters, and they think that it will solve the case. So they will, of course, organize themselves, yeah, and they will make this transformation happen. However, they do not think about, okay, what is the point? Why do we want to change with that? What do we want to transform? What will be at the end of that road? Okay, and it's about not understanding the purpose of the whole transformation. It is not about doing agile because every other company does it. Yeah, It's not about doing Agile, it's about being Agile, but for everybody, for every company, it can be different. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like my favorite quote from Alice in the Wonderland. When Alice asks the cat, the conversation she has with the cat, and she asks, "Will you tell me, please, which way should I go?" And the cat replies, it depends mostly on where you want to go. And she says, "I don't much care where." So the cat says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." The same is with Agile Transformation. Yeah, you need to be aware where you want to reach, what is the end goal. And now a hint on how to tackle this situation from my side, and again something that worked in my case. So I would recommend you to have something which is called future perspective. So in Agile, we have retrospectives. Yeah, and with retrospectives, we look into the past, we draw conclusions, and we learn from that. With future perspective, we think about the future. And a good technique for having future perspective is so-called news headline. And here you invite the team. The best would be to invite the leadership team to have the exercise with you. And what they do is they create a poster, which is kind of a headline. And the task here, the request is that, okay, think about the newspaper, the headline in newspaper, the article in the first page of the newspaper in for example, 2 years. What they will be writing about you as a team, what they will be writing about you as a company, okay? What you want to see there in terms of the headline, what will be those pictures that depict the whole achievement, the success that you made, and what will be some highlights, key points you would like to see there, okay? So that's the bringing people to the future and to the vision. But there is a second part of that, which we do not, which we need to be aware of and remember of, which is it's not enough to have a vision for the future. We also need to think about explaining to people why we want to have this transformation, why we want to have this change. Okay, and it's great help comes from Simon Sinek with his book Start With Why. And as you may see in the circle, it's not about what and how we want to do things. It's about why. So you need to give the rationale for people so that to make them understand. In every change management model that we apply with introducing change, they call them kind of sense of urgency. Okay, so again, we need to explain why we want to change. Okay, so let's assume we have the vision, we know where to go. So what is the next thing which is often missing? Metrics, and also David was mentioning about that. Okay, so we have the vision, but still we do not have data which will help us to understand if we are going into the good direction. And as Deming said, in God we trust, and all the rest needs to bring data. I fully agree with that, because we want to make decisions based on facts, data, not on opinions. However, for me, it's not only about trust, because it's like, it's not about that. It's not that I'm not trusting. It's the fact that I want to be aware exactly where I am, in terms of the progress, in terms of the decisions that we may make, because we may want to have any pivot and so on. And working with the data, what to do the best, how to design them in the best way. So I would like to share with you those hints which were taken from Management 3.0, and they're called 12 principles for metrics. And I will take you through 2 of them. The first one, which is measuring for purpose. So here, with designing the metrics for our Agile transformation, what we want to do is we want to be focused. At the end, it can be one metric even, kind of a North Star for us, but the metric which will help us to understand where we are. And with measuring for a purpose, we don't want to have 100 metrics in place, because then we will be lost. Okay. And the other point from that is the fourth point: delight all stakeholders. For me, what it means is that with Agile Transformation, mainly we think, and mainly the most common metric that I've heard of was like, okay, we want to reduce cycle time, okay? And it's a great metric, I agree. However, what about the opposite side of that? Or how about the quality of the code, of the solution, and so on? So here, with delighting all the stakeholders, we need to think about big picture, okay, and look at the situation from different angles. Okay, so we have vision, we have metrics. What else can we miss? Inspection and adaptation, which was a huge surprise for me, because for me, inspection and adaptation is a kind of a heart of every of Agile. And here, like, this is why we are doing that, because we want to work in small steps with improving and learning from the process. And what I observe is that in many companies, they do not design this process. Okay, and even churches said that, however beautiful the strategy is, sometimes you need to look at the results. And even with the companies that I work for as a consultant, with introducing OKRs, for example, they were, for example, telling me, okay, we have those OKRs, but they don't work for us. Okay, so I wanted to understand why. So I asked, how often do you review your OKRs, and how often do you review the whole process? Never, or yearly? Okay, so it doesn't work like this, because with OKRs, the recommendation is that at least you should be reviewing them quarterly, yeah? Because again, we want to use the whole cycle, the process of inspection and adaptation. We want to review the results, but we also want to review the whole process, because if it doesn't work for us, we may easily adapt it, okay? Okay, so let's assume we have all three of them, but still there's something which is missing or is destroying the transformation. Working in silos. Working in silos is also mentioned by David. I think it's like when we in a company, we have still kingdoms. So we have queens and kings, and they have power. There are product department, delivery department, tech department, and what they do at the end is that they do not talk to each other, okay? Because the queens, the kings, they want to have their power. They don't want to lose it, okay? So they don't want to share the agendas. And as Jordan said, it's not about talent win games, but the teamwork wins the championship. And it is, for me, it is very often a challenge with every change, with every transformation, and it is really hard to change that. But here, what worked for me, and I wanted to share with you, it's a hint from a book, Tribal Leadership. And in tribal leadership, what they say is that there are 5 stages of leadership. And on the third stage, people in a company, they say, I am great, but in the brackets, you are not. So it means like I or my team, we are great, but the other teams, they are not. And with tribal leadership, what you want to do is like you want to go to the 4th level, which is called we are all great. Okay, across all teams, across all company, we are all great. And how to do that? So according to the recommendation from the book, what we need to do is like, we need to pick people from different teams, from different departments, and make them work together. So under an initiative, project, shared goals, whatever, it will be. It can be a business a project, it can be kind of charity, whatever. And with that, what people do is that they start to get to know each other. They start to learn more about their context, about the challenges they have in different departments. And it is easily for them to get along. And you create, with many initiatives like that, you create kind of a net across of the company. And it really worked. It worked for me, at least. Okay, now, the fifth one. Don't empower people. We all know how important it is in Agile world. We know that it's not about telling how to people. We want them to say what it is to be done, like Patton said, because we all believe that they will create a better solution with that. And from my experience, it is not even that there are still managers who are controlling, commanding and controlling. Because I observed many times that there were managers who wanted to be so agile that they did not give any constraints. They were just telling, go and organize yourself, okay? So it will not work. It's not empowering people. Go and organize yourself. It will not work unless you give some constraints, like, for example, vision, objective, metric, whatever, resources you need to give them, okay? So all of that is needed for people to be empowered and to feel empowered. And what may help us here is, like, we may use a delegation board, for example. There are different types of techniques here, like RACI, matrix, and so on. But still, it's about having the conversation. And with a delegation board, we have those 7 levels of delegation. The first one at the very beginning is when you tell, as a manager, when you tell the people what to do. And on the other side, we have the 7th level, which is when you fully delegate, not even asking about the result. But still, the important thing is here, what you describe here, in terms of the areas that you would like to discuss together. And there can be things like roles in a team, there can be training, tools that the team wants to use. However, the same board you may create for transformation, okay? And you may think of the areas you would like to discuss, and you would like to work together on team level, with management, with senior leadership team, and so on. The next thing is about competences. So coming back to empowerment. Empowerment won't work without competences. So that's first thing. If you want to empower people, so you want to be agile, you need to develop competences. And of course, as Ford said many years ago, the only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is to not train them and having them stay. And many times I've heard, like, okay, but the trainings, they are expensive. We hire Scrum Masters, we hire Agile coaches, and now we expect them to work and train people, which is okay. I do understand that the thing that trainings are expensive, but still we have free meetups, conferences like Agile Swarming, for example. But what we need to think of mainly as managers and leadership here is that you need to protect time for people to learn. So you need to have a kind of slack time for self-study. You need to give them time for organizing of communities of practice, for example, lighting talks. And one more thing that you need to do as management is you need to have this a safe space for people to learn from failures and experiments. So at least those 2 things to be done here, to have the competences: time, so resources, and trust. And the last but not least thing that I observed many times, it's that when we have a hammer, we use it everywhere. So that's the hammer law, or Maslow's law. So, for example, like, why want to have Scrum across 53 teams? I don't know, maybe Maybe we should think about that. Will it work for every team? Maybe because of the items that they have, ways of working, it would be better to have Kanban. Okay, so again, it's like there's a tendency when we learn something, we use it everywhere. And what I'm telling and keep repeating with that is that we need to be mindful about different domains. And that's probably you all know the Canadian framework. So when you again in a clear or obvious domain, which is here, which means that before you, there were people there who did it already. So you may assume that there is a catalog of best practice. And what you do is like you just take one of the idea of the technique and use it in your situation. However, if you are in a complex domain and nobody was doing that before you, it's your first time also, you need to wait for the practice to emerge. Okay, so you need to again give trust and time because the practice needs to take time, and you will observe what is working for you, and based on that, you will create some rules and practices here. So that was those 7 steps, and I would like you to think just for a few seconds, and I have 2 questions for you. Out of those 7 steps, areas, which is the most challenging for you right now? And now the second final questions. Out of those people, characters here, they come from different areas, from different words like politics, sports, army, fiction even. Who may support you in your agile transformation journey? Thank you.